Well, hello all, and welcome to Noir Voices by British Athletics. The Noir Voices series is an online conversation with a person, or today people, from ethnically diverse communities. In these conversations, their stories and experiences are shared through their eyes with you, our athletics family. Last year's Noir Voices sessions, of which there were 5 talking about different subjects, were extremely enlightening, educational, and very successful. You wanted more voices, more stories, and this year, the ED&I team at UK Athletics will be bringing them straight to you. This evening, I am so honoured to get the opportunity to speak to Stuart Lawrence and Lorraine Mulvaney in celebration of Stephen Lawrence Day, which is this year on the 22nd of April. Stuart, I've got a little bit of a bio, a bit of a kind of intro to do on both of you, so bear with me. Stuart is a motivational and public speaker, a diversity, inclusion, grief and youth engagement specialist, and is going to be releasing his book imminently, titled Silence is Golden. So I cannot wait to hear all about this book and all about your journey to get to the book. And Lorraine, you are Housing Policy and Practice Officer for one of the biggest multicultural cities outside of London. You have years of professional experience working with youth and children in special education needs settings. You're also an ED&I subgroup member, a female coach ambassador, a club coach, and a coordinator for Welsh Athletics, and as well as being an athletics coach. So thank you. I mean, that's a lot, isn't it? It's a lot to say, but I'm really, really grateful to be here with both of you tonight. Where to start? Let's kind of rewind it back and start kind of at the beginning. So Stuart, tonight, the questions are going to kind of flow into each other. Please feel free to kind of dig in wherever you need to. But Stuart, I want to kind of go back to your past, because you started working with the Home Office and HMP Belmarsh, didn't you, before going on to become a teacher? So kind of tell me about kind of that part of your life and kind of really what's led up to now.
Yeah, great to be here. Thank you for allowing me to be on the platform to speak to your young people. So it started off where I sort of finished university. I decided that I was going to be some high-flying civil servant, earn lots of money, have quite an easy sort of work-life balance between work and the rest of life. And 9/11 happened, and that was quite a big sort of shocking moment in my life to go, what am I doing and how am I contributing to society and to the world that I live in? And I realized I was contributing, I was going to be doing stuff and policies and procedures in that way, but it was so high level that people couldn't feel or understand the connection between myself, what I've been through and how I wanted to make a difference. Teaching was something that people had always said to me, Stuart, they thought, I think you'll be a good teacher. I think you'll be able to express yourself and get to speak to the young people better than some other people could do. So really tried to push me in that field. And I always thought, teaching's, it's not very glamorous. It seemed very glamorous. It didn't come across as something as important or as vital as some of the other things I've dreamt up as being a young person. So as a Home Office was a great profession, and I worked at the HMP Belmarsh as well. That was a great insight and eye-opener for me as well. But I decided that teaching, I remembered what it was like to be young. I wanted to try and use my own personal experiences to help young people to get over the hurdle of education and into that next phase of their life of being an adult and contributing back. So that was really important for me to see how I could help on the ground with people that looked like me and that came from the same background as I did. Because when I was at school, there was only one black teacher. His name was Mr. King. He was a maths teacher. And I remember it quite vividly, like he was the only black teacher. It didn't look at him like, oh my goodness, you're the only black teacher in my school. It was just very apparent that he was the only black teacher. And then the way that he was treated by our peers and everything, again, it was just like he was all alienated because he looked so out of place to everyone else, I think, as well. So that was the reason why that I thought to myself, okay, cool, I'm going to go back in there. I'm going to try and help, and I'm going to try and be a difference maker for those young people.
What school did you stay at the same school for 15 years, or did you move around?
No, so one school for 15 years, St Martin's Le Field High School for girls. Mrs. Morrison was my headmistress, and yes, it was. I always say to people, it was one of those places where it didn't. When I look back now and say 15 years, it doesn't feel like 15 years. And also, it was one of those environments where it was so conducive of just greatness, and like no 2 days were the same, no 2 years were the same, and we was all on this big mission statement to try and help empower this next cohort of girls, because it was all girls' school as well, into. I remember in September, my headmistress always used to say, the first assembly, she'd say, "I'm looking at the future Prime Minister amongst us somewhere." Like, that's how inspiring she was as a person. And I just thought to myself, wow, like what a statement. And then she used to finish the school year by reading Phenomenal Women by Maya Angelou as well.
Yeah.
And just those little things used to make so much a difference to those girls. And as I said, for me, I played a very small part, but I'm glad I played the part I played.
I can't think, I mean, you know, a lot of us parents, I have 4 children myself, you know, coming out of a year of lockdown and home learning, and you realize the amazing talent that the talent base that teachers have in order to not only educate our children, but to inspire. And what I loved about what you said there, Stuart, was, you know, I talk a lot about you can't be what you can't see, you know, and so therefore, you know, seeing a Black teacher and thinking, you know, I want to add my voice to that, and actually actively going down and, you know, grassroots level doing that is so powerful and so important for children to see.
Definitely, I'm all about representation. It's so important, and that's why, again, now I think it's so important that we show kids the amazing thing that lots of people are doing up and down this country. It's not just a few. And again, we always get down with the whole sports, and we always get down with music. They're always visible, easy things to identify and say, oh yeah, look, that's. But we don't always go to the other professions. We don't always go and look at the other stratospheres. So how many Black headmistresses and how many Black teachers there are? How many people in FTSE 100 companies that of Black and ethnic minorities? You know, all these different groups are represented, but sometimes we just don't bang the drum loud enough and clear enough for people to see all these wonderful people doing. And again, as I said, that's something I'm trying to do more of, trying to highlight and demonstrate that, look, in every walk of life, there will be someone amazing that looks like you, that could be you quite easily. But again, we need to be better at showing the young people that there is representation there.
And Lorraine, actually, kind of leads really nicely in, because your experience, your professional experience has as well been in working with children and young people and young affairs in this education needs setting. So, you know, talk to me about kind of your experience and kind of what you saw, what you were passionate about in that space too.
It's funny because okay, thank you also for having me on board. It's funny because my reasonings are very similar to Stuart's in a bizarre way. For me, it was my experiences of what I went through as a child within school. I had 2 secondary schools, two very, very contrasting. The first one, I didn't have any Black teachers, not that I can recall. I didn't have any Black teachers to look towards or anything. But then when I transferred to another secondary school, it's a different part of London. It was like a faith school, and that particular school was the opposite, you know, and that in itself was an amazing eye-opener for me, really, because not only could I see a huge amount of other pupils who did look like me, I also had teachers that I could look up to who were of colour, either, you know, they're Black or Indian, effectively. So, and they really, really, really inspired me to just keep trying and just keep pushing and trying to do better for myself. But I didn't actually have that long there, really. I literally only had 2 years there, and then it was the end of school. But those 2 years was enough for me to sort of think, do you know what, I want to work with some young people, you know, I want to help to inspire them. I want to show them that they can achieve, if, you know, because it, you know, it is possible. I've actually seen and been educated by people who were like a doctor of science and, you know, and on all these various things, all within my school, never mind what was out there in the industry, employment wise. But so it was that sort of thing I wanted to do. And I also had a real desire to work within like the social care, social work kind of setting. So really help the vulnerable young people out there and their families. So I did huge amounts of work within that area. It wasn't long before I realized that there were so many other external factors that were causing challenges for these young people and their families. And you know, there was the social housing issues, there was issues within health and things like that. But I also realized that all of these departments weren't really speaking to each other how they should be. They didn't really have an understanding of what each part or division sort of plays. So that's why I ended up sort of steering into the housing sector, you know, because I had all these visions of I'm going to put things right in housing sort of thing, and soon realized it was a mammoth task. But anyway, I had all my knowledge of like social care, so it was fine. So and then went into working with re-educated. Then I thought, you know what, I still need to be doing more. So I went to university as a mature student, then did postgraduate studies, and then effectively sort of did almost full circle. So I then ventured into the special educational needs kind of area, where I thought, you know what, this is the core of where it really could make, I could make some amazing changes effectively, because I was the one who was collating all of this specialist information on these young people and producing their statutory documents for them, supporting them to secure educational settings that were right for them based on all of their needs that they had, as well as their strengths, really, and really just trying to put them on that right path from that perspective. So I wasn't hands-on literally working with the young people, it was more doing things behind the scenes with them or for them. And now it's effectively all gone full circle, and I've gone into housing sort of again, but from the policy side of things. So again, I just keep trying to reach that bit further and further and higher. What can I do that's going to make real changes, really? So because I can see from these various areas, I can see how it affects them in education, I can see how it affects them in housing, I can see social care gaps, you know, even if it's things that I can't physically do within my day job, I can advise other people within the team and within the department based on my own actual experiences. So yeah.
Amazing. I mean, it's as an activist myself and someone who seeks to amplify around barriers to you know, in my passion is trail running, and so an access to outdoor space and green space for Black and brown people. You know, it's so everything that you both said there in terms of that inspiration, you know, starting with the children and seeing where those barriers are and how we can instigate change at grassroots level, but also policy level, you know, really having those uncomfortable conversations, you know, those uncomfortable conversations that need to be had with those decision makers is so imperative. So Stuart, back to you. What led you then, what triggered you to leave the teaching profession and kind of, you know, go into your next phase?
Yeah, so first of all, I'd like to say this as well, like it's a super hard job. Teaching, you spoke about it earlier about lockdown and everyone having a better realization about what teachers do and how it is a challenge. And I always say to people this as well, like teaching your own children is even more a challenge than actually teaching other people's children. So I definitely want to throw that caveat here that, you know, even with my own son, we had some meltdown days and the substitute teacher had to be called in to recover from the teacher in charge. So it is a super hard thing. And again, I say to people, I went to Jamaica we had a really beautiful exchange program with Jamaica we did, where we would have teachers and students go backwards and forwards for 2 weeks experience. And when I went out there to Jamaica, I realized after 10 years in Jamaica of teaching, they give you a year off paid to work out whether you want to continue being a teacher, or you then can go off and do something else with your life. And I realized after sort of like 12 or 13 years deep into teaching that I was starting to burn myself out. I was starting to get to the point where I just couldn't keep on going at the rate I was going at, and I just needed some time for myself. And so 2018 came along, and I was just like, do you know what, I can't do it no more. I'm very much a person that if I'm going to do something, then I'm going to go 110%. Like, I'm going to go above and beyond the call of duty. I want to be the best I can possibly be. And I just started to feel like I wasn't being that, and I was doing the kids a disservice. And I just like, do you know what, I'm not going to do that for them. So I was able to take some time out in April 2018, and then Stephen Lawrence Day happened. I was like, brilliant, I can still do teaching, I can still go into schools, I can still be a difference maker, I can still help out, but I can just do it a different way. But then I quickly realised that schools didn't have the sort of money to pay me to come in to do workshops, to do assemblies, and to fund me to do that piece of work. So 2018, 2019, 2020, I went back and worked part-time. So I worked 3 days a week. And then the other 2 days I went up and did the stuff for the foundation that I'm doing sort of now. And that worked a bit better. But then again, I realized I just couldn't be who I wanted to be as a teacher. Like, I couldn't get there early. I couldn't leave there late. I wasn't there for parents' evening. I wasn't there for career. All those extra bits that you do as a teacher, I just couldn't do, because I was like, I'm only working 9 till 2 and I've got to go off and do something else. Or I'm only working on this day here because that's my day I've got to work. And it felt like I was doing them a disservice. I was just like, do you know what? 2020 and 21, I was just like, I personally feel I can't be a part-time teacher. I'm either a full-time teacher giving me everything, or I'm not a teacher at all. So I decided last year that I wasn't going to do teaching at all, that I was still going to do my workshops, I was still going to do assemblies, I was still going to interact with young people in that way, but just not in a classroom education setting. So I'm really missing it. I definitely would put my hand up and say, here now, I miss the young people. I miss the interaction with them. I miss forming relationships, building relationships with them, seeing them grow, seeing them develop. I miss all of that side of things. But yeah, just I'm a different phase of my life now. So I'm not saying I'll never go back, because I might do one day, but not at the moment. I'm going to try and focus and do some other bits and pieces for the moment.
I mean, I want to go on to talk about the foundation and the trust and Stephen Lawrence Day and you becoming an author. You know, you touch upon a really, really interesting point, and that is burnout. That is about us being people of colour, and, you know, almost it being ingrained into our consciousness that we have to work harder, we have to achieve, you know, we have to burn the midnight oil in order to kind of get that and to get that. And it's something that, you know, burnout is certainly something that I've experienced, being, you know, with that kind of type A personality, kind of achieve. How, you know, with everything that's going on in the world, coming out of lockdown, with the trauma surrounding, you know, everything that happened last year with, you know, the George Floyd and you know, everything that happened in America and the BLM, how do you manage, you know, on a daily basis, your mental health? You know, you spoke about you realizing that you know, you have that burnout, etc. And I know Lorraine as well, in the job that you do, you know, it's very high pressure, etc. And I think it's important for those people listening to kind of understand, from those that are juggling lots of balls, exactly how you go about looking after your own minds. Lorraine, do you want to go first?
Yeah, I actually eventually okay, so for me, I think you have to just be honest with yourself and realize what those stress factors and stress indicators are, and just be prepared to just bite the bullet and make a change if you need to make a change. Because sometimes you can dance around it all and think, oh, you know, just keep going. I was in that keep going mode for a number of years, actually. And it got to a point where I thought, and well, for me, the athletics was my savior, really. You know, I was rushing to get home so I could go and coach. And because working with the young people, it just filled me with so much joy. I got I had such a passion for it. You know, I loved seeing them grow on their abilities on the track. You know, I'd go up and down the country with them to compete. I got such joy from that. But it got to a point where I thought that wasn't enough. You know, I needed to still do something else. And then I bit the bullet and I changed jobs, effectively, is what I did. But it was a challenge for me because I always thought I'm not going to find something that I can really love. But it got to a point where, as much as I loved the job, it was incredibly stressful. So in the end, I bit the bullet, got another job, and I don't know why I just didn't do it sooner, actually, because as I mentioned earlier, I wasn't really letting go of all those areas I thought I was going to be letting go of. I just had to kind of remold how I can sort of still do something in those kind of areas, you know, and it worked. So for me, I would say just be honest with yourself, be truthful with yourself as to what you can physically do, because at the end of the day, I'm a mum, I'm a wife, you know. I thought I can't afford to be crumbling, you know, I can't, you know. So I just had to just be true to yourself and just make some changes that, you know, is gonna not just benefit you, but obviously to benefit you, but obviously you still need to maintain all those things that you love and enjoy doing.
And Stuart, how about you? How do you go about managing things on the daily?
Yeah, I think Aunt right there. Because again, when I look back at it now, I think my best years of teaching were probably sort of like 6 years in to sort of like 10, 11, 12 years in. And when you're in it and you're like, I remember if it's like, oh, I'm like, yeah, I'm still on it. But now when I reflect and look back, and that's hard, that's really hard to self-reflect and to be, like you say, be honest with yourself. Are you the best? Are you still able to, you know, fulfill all the stuff you did? And then when you find yourself answering no to some of those questions, that it's time for a change. And that's hard. Wait to be pushed, or do you jump yourself? That's the bit that, again, people find quite difficult. And I just say to people, like, it was getting to a stage where I'd go to bed and I'd be like, I can't, I don't want to get up the next morning. I don't want to go to. When you start to feel like that, it's definitely a time for you to say, do you know what? And now, so things I do now for my mental health, like I had 10 minutes to myself every day, like 10 minutes, just mental state of no phones, no interactions, go out in the garden, stand there for 10 minutes, hear my own thoughts. That again, and we go back to the whole thing about, you know, overworking. That year I took out, 2018 to 2019, that year where I hardly did anything, and I just was so powerful because I got time to stop, I got time to think, I got time to breathe, I got time to realize what it was I really wanted to do, what was really important to me. And again, I was really lucky to be able to have that time, because a lot of us don't have that time or ability to just stop and go, and then allow whatever's next to come naturally. That again is quite a powerful thing, which we're quite scared of. Going, oh my god, like, I don't know what's next. I've got to know what the next is, because if I don't know what it's, then I'm lost. And I remember that this was sort of quite powerful when my mum said to me, I went to take a year out before I went to university, and this was 98. This was 98 to 90. And I was like, Mum, I just want to take a year out. I want to go and do some traveling. She's like, oh no, don't go. If you stop now, you will never go back. I was like, no, I will do. She's like, no, just carry on. My heart wasn't in it. So I messed up my first year at university. So that whole year I went to take off anyway. I took off anyway, but it cost me 3 or 4 grand, because, you know, I invested in halls and I bought books and I did all this. And I was just like, I could have been traveling the world for a year. I could have had all that experience and saved myself a bit of money, because I knew myself, but because I was trying to do things for other people. And again, that's where we get caught up, because we don't want to disappoint no one else. We don't want them to look at us in a funny way. We don't want to think that we're not achieving, we're a layabout, we're above. All those things have connotations to our own mental state. Whereas if I just stopped and thought, what do I want? How is this going to make me happy? Or how's this going to make me a better person? And just went with that. Some of those other things I wouldn't have done, I don't think. But again, it's a case of living and learning and using those things as experience as well.
You touch upon so much there, both of you. I feel that we could just talk for hours about, but we're here mainly to talk about Stephen Lawrence Day and the foundation and the trust and everything surrounding that. Can you tell me, was Stuart? We talk about sport, and you talked about how impassioned, Lorraine, you were kind of working with young athletes, etc. Was Stephen, was he an athlete? Did he enjoy his sport? Tell me about him.
Yeah, so he was a big athletics fan, massive athletics fan. He was. I remember he took part in the mini marathon as well. Ran quite a good personal time for that as well. But he wasn't long distance and mid distance wasn't really his thing. He was more into sprinting. And as I said, we both went to the same athletics club together, Cambridge Harriers. We went there. I remember many a scary cold Wednesday nights coming back from Cholton, walking across the common by ourselves, trying to get home and those sort of things. But no, Stephen loved sports. Athletics was number one, football was number two. And then that sort of rubbed off onto me as well. So, you know, I did athletics, I did football outside of school. Big cornerstones of our life. And again, my parents was like, do things, have things to do. You know, idle minds will find idle things to do. Whereas if we keep you occupied and giving you things to do, then there is no time for you to get in trouble. So my parents were very much those type of guys as well, and giving us a bit of focus. So yes, athletics was huge for Stephen. It really was.
I mean, it's just, you know, to hear that about Stephen, and to, you know, today this interview goes out on Stephen Lawrence Day, and you know, as part of that day, you invite people to celebrate his life, to celebrate the man that he was, the man that he should have been. And I think sport around it can be such a conduit, can't it, for really realizing just the talent that kind of lies within us. Obviously, Lorraine, with your coaching and you know, your athletics yourself, and I know, Stuart, do you still coach a youth football team? Or
I don't. I was thinking of saying this to. I met up with one of my old friends, my old coaching friends, and I was saying I might have to start taking it off my CV because I feel a bit of a fraud now. It's been a year since I've been a football coach, and I miss it so much though. And I'm in the process of doing my UEFA, so I'm trying to get back into it because I miss it so much. I think, like Uncle Lorraine was saying about going home, like coming home from work. I remember being at school, planning my football sessions, like 15 minutes before the end of my day. I'm like, I can't, guys, come on, don't you not just do that stuff? I'm just gonna printing off stuff and then like running out the door. And I loved it. And I loved it. Again, it's about imparting something that's inside of you that you find such a joy onto others. Like I tell people all the time, football's for me. I could watch, speak, play all day long. My son likes the football now as well, so that's another great avenue for me. But I say to him, I'm not trying to make him I'm not trying to live my dream through him. And I say to him all the time, if you don't want to go, dude, just let me know, because I'm not really bothered. Like, if you don't, it's you, because I love football so much that I want you to have the same passion where on a Saturday, that's all I want to do. I want to sit in front of the TV, watch a bit of football on my phone with my mates talking about football. I want to pass that enthusiasm on to other people and to other young people. So it's part of their life, not only as an exercise to go and keep themselves fit and active, but then also as a way to socialize, a way to meet other people, a great way to go to other countries. We went to Barcelona today. He couldn't speak Spanish, but got his ball out and there's other kids playing with him. Like, it was beautiful. There's just one little object can bring people who can't speak the same language together, brings them together. It's amazing. As I said, for me, I just want to pass that enthusiasm on to other young people. I really do. And that's why I do football coaching, because what a great way to pass it on, and the knowledge as well and information, and see them develop and grow into great footballers themselves is no better joy for myself. So yeah, that's me about coaching.
But I think it's fine for you to leave it on your CV, Stuart, because you know, then I get to see how passionate you are about football. And Lorraine, I mean, you do so much for Welsh athletics as well. You know, the ED&I subgroup and the female coaches kind of ambassador and group coordinator, etc. Do you think that's, and I know you're kind of getting more into officiating as well, is that something that you think that you will just continue to grow and to build in, and, you know, giving women, you know, ethnic minorities the support and the representation that they need in order to really believe their true worth?
I think definitely, yeah. I think with the whole lockdown scenario, that's when I actually started to take on more, I think. So I've been coaching for quite a few years already. I've been officiating for quite a few years. Photo finish is my absolute favorite. I love it to bits. I don't know, maybe it's a weird thing. I just so love it, it's brilliant. And I've not been doing photo finish for very, very long, but I just think, anyway, I won't bore you, but yeah, I just like I love that side of things also. But I think with the female coach ambassador is a very, very new role. I've only recently been selected for that. And also with the EDI subgroup is also quite a newish thing that's been going for a few months now. But it's almost as if it's almost had like a rippling effect, if you like, as my passion and desire is growing more and more, I'm seeing these things. And because I've got so much more confidence in myself now, probably that, I sort of mentioned the Stepping Up program on my on my bio, and I think that gave me so much self-confidence and self-belief that I can actually do things. I can progress and I can do these things. So I've just slowly been taken on more and more and more, but because they all kind of intertwine with each other, then it just works. It just seems to work. I mean, the coordinator role, that's at club level. It's coaching coordinator role, and effectively that's just trying to help build up more coaches within the club and everything, and just encourage them to do more courses and things like that, and infuse them, and trying to encourage them to progress, and they don't have to just stay at that level. They can go on and they can just do more. But yeah, ultimate aim is to just get more women involved, I think. And definitely, if you could have a coaching workforce or an officials workforce that is representative of the athletes that are there on the field and on the pitch, the parents that are there, it would just be amazing, I think. But so I think, yeah, I just love what I'm doing so much that sometimes I can't even articulate it. People say, why'd you do so much? I say, it's not that much. And it's only when you start listing it, and I think, oh yeah, that is a lot, yeah. But it just seems to be working. It just seems to be, I'm just doing what I'm doing because I love it, really. I just want more women to sort of, join also and just carry on. So I'm just not the only woman of colour, It'd just be nice to just have other coaches within my area that I can, female coaches more so, that I can, relate to and identify with, and things that, there's huge amounts of women of colour in the broader parts of, UK athletics, which is great, but not many where I am.
That's just really, it's the whole, we go back to representation, don't we go back to being advocates to showcase the ladder, I guess, that as people of colour, the barriers that we have to address in order to, I know with the work that you're doing with the Stephen Lawrence Trust as well is about, getting more black men as well into those higher positions, those FTSE 100 companies, showing them that there is a step, a ladder to get there, and holding their hands and inspiring them along the way, as well as the women, Lorraine, where I'm from, there aren't any women of colour in any kind of, athletics coaching roles, and it's something that I think, as people in our position with platforms, that we have to continue to amplify and to show those people that, these are the steps that we have maybe taken, and these are the opportunities that are open to you as well. So I want to talk about the trust, because the trust is the kind of fairly new kind of organization, isn't it? And it was talk to me more about kind of why it was launched and what its aims are and everything like that.
Yeah, so the Stephen Lawrence Foundation was launched last year, October, and it was to focus on the Stephen Lawrence Day on the 22nd of April every year. And what they're based around is the 3 C's, so classroom, communities, and careers. And we went with that approach because then hopefully no one should be left behind. No one should feel like they can't have a part to play in what the Stephen Lawrence Day is about. So this year we're going to be doing a live assembly in the morning for Key Stage 1, Key Stage 2, Key Stage 3, Key Stage 4, and that will be hosted by the Baroness and myself. And we just want to introduce people to what Stephen Lawrence Day is about, give them some framework of why it's so important for us to celebrate the day, and we've got this legacy for change as well. And in the afternoon, we're going to be doing a community-based webinar as well, and that's talking about the role that education plays in communities, the role that communities play in education, and having this open conversation with teachers and the community about how we can work together better to ensure that the education represents the communities it's supposed to serve.
Absolutely.
In the evening, we've got another webinar called A Message to My Younger Self, where we've got a lady called Karen Blackett from WPP, which is a huge marketing and advertising company. We have Hannah Mercer from Adidas, who's Vice Principal of Adidas. We have Amanda Anuja from the London City of London, Head of Equality and Diversity on there as well. So we're just going to have a conversation where we're asking them what things happened in their younger lives that's enabled them to become the successful women that they are today. And just have this roundtable discussion where kids can throw in questions, listen here, and talk about what it is you need to do to be, you know, to get to those high levels. Again, about the whole idea of representation and showing young people as well that, look, these people all came from walks of life, a bit like yourselves did, but look at the echelons that they've got to now. So that's what we're based around now at the moment for the foundation. And we're hoping that with that basis there that we have, that there'll be other community, other charity groups that are doing amazing stuff on Stephen Lawrence Day as well. And we just want to celebrate and amplify that as again. And so hopefully we don't leave anyone behind for them to not to understand that everyone has a part to play on this day, and it represents us all in some sort of way as well.
I think that's just, you know, the 3 C's that you describe them so simply in terms of, you know, that I love that line, like no one left behind. I think it's absolutely imperative in terms of communicating the change that is needed in order to really address those issues of inequality, because that's all we just want equity, don't we? We want that equity. And you know, often as an activist myself and amplifying the need for more representation and more access and skills representation of Black people in the countryside, you know, people, you know, they'll hit you, the more ignorant people will maybe hit you with the line, well, this is for everyone, or you have to kind of pull yourself up by your own kind of bootstraps, etc. And I think the biggest thing for me is having, as I said, those uncomfortable conversations to say, actually, you know, it's not as easy for one set of society as it may be for another. And these are the reasons why, and these are what we need to address, you know, and I love the 3 C's. I think I'm going to take those away with me and certainly integrate them into what I do with my communities. Now, I know that the one thing that you are doing, and I'm feeling you because I'm actually in the process of doing it myself. You are about to release a book, Stuart.
Yes.
How
it came out? Its book's out. The book's out.
It's out.
1st of April it came out. Yeah. So we're only 12 days into it at the moment. So and what it is as well, I should be in book joyous mode of just celebrating the book, but because I'm doing the Stephen Lawrence Foundation stuff as well, it's been quite sort of jaded, and I've got another week left of the foundation stuff, and then I am going to take some time off. I am going to sit back and enjoy the whole process of it all. But yeah, it came out 1st of April. I've got a copy here. I don't know if I can
yes,
to turn the background off. Aren't you, Lorraine? Don't mind the messy background.
Let's have a look. Let's have a look at the book cover, because the book cover is everything. Oh yes. Oh, see,
yes, we can go down. There you go.
Silence is not an option. Wow.
Yeah.
So talk to us about how did your route to becoming an author, a published author, happen? How long have you been thinking about writing a book?
Writing a book has been a few years. This is what happened. So I'm in my years of teaching, a young girl came into my classroom and she went, "Oh, Mr. Lawrence, newsflash, the world's flat." was just like, what? She was like, yeah. The world's flat. I was like, where did you get this information from? And she said, oh, someone on Instagram. And she showed me, I think it might have been, and I don't want to name drop, but I think it might have been Kim Kardashian, might have said something weird at that wonderful at that time. And I looked at the amount of followers she had, and I was like 2 million at the time. I was just like, wow, if this young lady can say something like this, and then make such an impression on this other young lady around the world who she's got no idea about, what am I doing? Like, how am I? So we had this big long conversation about that, why the world wasn't flat, etc., etc. But then I just realised that the power of that people had on young people, and I was just like, well, I need to make sure, I need to get the message out there as far and wide. And I was only talking to 150 girls coming in and 150 girls leaving every year, and I was just like, that's not enough reach. I'm not speaking to enough people. So that's how, like I said, so we finished teaching 2018. I did an interview on GMTV, and someone reached out to me on Twitter and said to me, oh, Stuart, I really liked your interview. What are you doing? How are you getting this message further out there? And I was just like, oh, I'm doing this. And he's like, oh, I really want to help you. And he was in licensing, this gentleman was. And he said, oh, I've got some friends in the publishing world. You should like do the book, write a book about everything you're talking about. So I was like, okay, cool. I had one meeting just before we went down into lockdown, the very first. So I think it was March the 14th. I think I had this meeting. We went to lockdown the 27th or 23rd. We kept on talking via emails and stuff. And then they phoned me up. She said, look, we're in lockdown now. Obviously, you're not getting out and about and doing as much as you used to. Do you want to write that book you're talking about? And I was just like, yeah, I'd love to. So April 14th for my birthday. So almost a year ago.
Wow.
Today, I signed my contract with Scholastic. And yeah, just many late nights. 11 o'clock till 2 o'clock is my best time of working at night. So yeah, it's great. It was so lethargic. It was such a great reflection. I got to do some research in some different areas that I really was interested in, like especially around the brain, mental health, those sort of things as well, and how it affected young people. So that was great to do. And yeah, and as I said, I wanted to frame it around my own personal experiences, but then also those things I used to tell the kids that came in year 7 about how they could reinvent themselves, how they could be anything they wanted to be, and how anything that happened beforehand, they had a brand new piece of paper, a brand new chapter to start all again. And this part of their journey would help them go into adulthood. And just saw so many young, wonderful young ladies come in, really small, looking around the place like, oh my God, what's going on? And developing to beautiful, amazing young women who are now doctors, lawyers, teachers, authors themselves, movie stars. It's the range of girls and the different professions they've gone into is amazing. A plethora of all different types of walks of life. So yeah, I just wanted to be able to get a message out there and a lasting message. And also for my son as well, I must confess as well, because that's, why else do we do things other than for our own children? And as I said, I dedicate the book to him because I always know as well that we don't see our parents how our parents want us to see us. It's such a hard thing being a parent, and that balance between being cool and hip and being authority. I remember it so well, and I always said to my wife, like, he'll never see me as the cool guy I want to be, but I know that if I do things right and I get certain messages across to him right, then he'll grow to be a beautiful human being and hopefully contribute to the world in a positive way. So yeah, that's it really. So
it's so inspiring hearing you talk about your journey to becoming a published author, and I think we're the hour is almost up that I'm having with both of you, and there is just so many questions. But what I love about the book title, and when I saw it, is silence is not an option, because I think especially throughout this last year, for me personally, it's been a year of a very cathartic experience, a year where I found my voice, a year where I have communicated with so many different people from around the world about issues that I cared deeply about. So on the, very much on board with, everything that you're saying about, the need for education and children and social change, etc. How, for both of you, I guess that question surrounding silence is not an option. Lorraine, as a woman, as a Black woman in, working in, one of the most, ethnically diverse areas in the UK outside London, you know, how important is it that Black women, brown women feel empowered to use their voices for personal, social, global change?
Beyond incredibly important, and don't be scared. All I say, don't be scared to speak and speak up. I've been silenced so many times in my career that it's actually been to my detriment, really, because I've not been able to progress in the areas that I wanted to progress in, because, you know, what you don't want is for it to become a self-fulfilling prophecy. And that's where, if somebody tells you enough times that you can't do something, or if they gaslight you enough times to make you believe that you can't do that, or, you know, you start to believe it, you know, you soon start to believe it. So yeah, don't be quiet. Just, you know, if that person or organization or situation, if they don't want to hear you, you just take yourself to people who you know will hear you, you know, and gather your what's the word, your allies, you know, who you know are there behind you and you've got your back 100%. You know, have those people that you can fall back on to support and say, look, I'm trying to do this, this and this, it's not working, da, da, da. Have you got any ideas? Have you got, you know, what can I do to kind of get the point across and things like that? You just be 100% like true to yourself, and just hold your confidence. If you believe in something strong enough, and if you're that passionate in it, people will listen. Eventually they will listen. You just keep talking and they will listen.
It's so powerful. It's I'm with you. I'm right here. I'm with you. It's everything you've said. You know, as a woman of color, you know, I have my own privilege of being a light-skinned, you know, biracial woman, but all that, you know, the gaslighting, you know, the people attempting to put a plaster over your mouth because what you're saying is very, very uncomfortable. You know, it takes that confidence and as you said, that support structure around you to actually give you what you need in order to rise above that. And Stuart, yourself, you know, the work that you're doing, the book, I'm assuming there's going to be some kind of book tour, hopefully, now we're kind of easing out of lockdown. I'm hoping you're going to come to the Southwest so that I can kind of get my community to kind of hear you talk about the book. What are your hopes for the book? What are your hopes for, you know, kind of, you know, the future of the Stephen Lawrence Foundation, Stephen Lawrence Trust, and ultimately, what would you like to see Stephen Lawrence Day grow into and become?
Yeah, definitely. I think for me, it's I want the foundation to become, like I said, for everyone. I want us to be that, and it goes back to what Lorraine was saying about there is someone out there to support you. We live in a world now where we're so connected, like. You can DM and message anyone. They may not get back to you, but you can do it. There is messaging, there is methods for you to do that. Like I get so many messages from people who ask me so many, and I try my best to get back to everyone, because as far as I'm concerned, even if we just go, oh yeah, but I can't, but then speak to this person here. Just that redirection of someone can really help someone with that momentum. And I really believe that whole thing about there is someone that will listen to you as well. And I know it's sometimes hard to think that you're in a space or in an environment where you have your thoughts and feelings and your beliefs about something, and you'll keep on going there, and it doesn't seem like it's moving anywhere. Stay consistent. I always say to people, the reason why my mum and my family, we've got to this point now is because we had one thing in mind in goal, which was to gain the outcome for Steve. So losing Stephen as a positive outcome for whoever did what they did to face the letter of the law. That was our single focus. Everything else that happened around the outside of that, the change of the laws, McPherson reports, this changing, that changing, was all out of us one steeliness determination of gaining justice for Stephen.
Yeah.
Again, that's all I can encourage people to do. Just have that one thing and stay on your focused path, because there'll be so many people who will try and push you off, that will try to deter you because of what you're trying to do. And when that happens, then you must know you're doing something good and something worthwhile, because otherwise it will be easy for you to do and everyone would do it. You know, and it'd be simple. those things are never always the right things. The things that are hard, the things that take work and determination, the things that doesn't feel like you're walking in truth when you're not getting it, they're the things we've got to stick with. And know that with determination and focus, we will get to the other side of things as well. By having allies, by staying steadily focused and determined, by just moving forward every single day. There's small little steps that we need to move forward into gaining this outlook that we all want to have, which goes back to the whole point again, which is about equality. I'm not asking to take over the world. I'm not asking to be seen as better than anyone else. I'm just asking to be seen as an equal. And that for me is such a powerful, simple thing to try and achieve. But lots of people see it as a step too far sometimes for them. But that's what I shall keep on trying to do.
Oh, Stuart and Lorraine, this has been the best hour that I have spent talking to anyone in a while. I think anyone watching this, to not be inspired, to not leave this conversation and think, I will not be silenced anymore. I'm passionate about this one thing and I want to make a change or achieve a change or bring other people on board to help make change. I think, you know, it's you've given so much food for thought. The work that you and your family and your supporters continue to do for social justice and social change in the name of Stephen is absolutely just inspiring, and as a fellow activist gives me hope and strength in what I'm doing in my part of the world. And I just want to thank you for giving up an hour to talk to me tonight and to share this with the UK athletics and the British athletics family. Cannot wait to read the book, Stuart. Can't wait to maybe do some more ED&I stuff. I'm on the Race Equality Network as well, Lorraine, so hopefully our paths will cross at some point. But I just wanted to thank you, and you know, Stephen Lawrence Day, 22nd of April, you know, helped make that difference. It's for all, as you said, and you know, have the most amazing book launch and enjoy it, Stuart, as well. Take some time to actually enjoy what you've done, and hopefully I will get to meet you both in person at some point this year. But thank you so much for giving up your time for Noir Voices. Very grateful.
And thank you for having us.
Yeah,
thank you for having us.
It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, absolutely.